Hi, John. Good morning. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Can you please tell us a little bit more about Govamonos AI?
Certainly. Well, thanks, Luigi. Appreciate all the things that you've done in helping us grow and where we're at. So, Govamonos AI is a company that's based out of Colorado. And one of the things that we are doing, of course, is working in the AI space. I'm a co-founder and help develop the business side of things. And one of the most important things, of course, is that since we are building our company out, we need those who can support us and help us. There's a whole lot of content that needs to be created on a regular basis. And when we do that, we need a great support team. And you have actually helped us go through and do that. We do everything from training to analysis, and also we do our own recruiting for the AI field specifically.
Perfect, perfect. So, who is John Paul Ennis? For those of you that don't know you.
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been starting businesses and building them and growing them, buying them, selling them, in some cases having to, put them down and say goodbye to them. Over the years, I really got a lot of experience in high tech and a variety of other places. And then on the other side of it is I create content on training for sales, also marketing and business strategies, and have been doing that for many, many years. The real key for me is really understanding how businesses work and don't work. And that came from my turnaround experience. And I've done almost 40 turnaround interventions, most of them because people always say 40, how many were successful? Well, I have to tell you, when you get a sick business, sometimes the patient is on life support at the time. So because of that, I've had to hire and fire. In fact, I used to say to audiences that I've probably fired more people than they've ever met in their life. Always makes people a little bit nervous. So I understand the necessity of needing great and talent and finding good talent.
Amazing, amazing. And how has it been working with your virtual assistant?
Well, it's always a challenge when you go offshore. You start thinking, what don't I know? And this was really, you helped me actually in those first baby steps, and have now worked with several of the people that you've offered up and had some very good results. We haven't had one person that didn't work out. Things change, of course, over time. And the real key, of course, is knowing how to communicate effectively, how to delegate, and more importantly, what your expectations are. I was surprised at the quality of communications, and that's really important. If you're going to actually go out and do this, you need to become more disciplined yourself. It's easy if somebody's sitting in your office. I actually have somebody who's worked with me, going on 15 years, and she can almost read my mind, which is scary at times. However, when you're going to use somebody in a remote method, then you have to think through, okay, how do I communicate and get that information to them, specifically what I want done and how I want it done, and then expect that it's not going to happen perfectly each time. I think that whole controlling perfection thing, if you're probably a microcontroller person, will probably have a little bit more trouble. But I get up every day, and my current person that I'm working with, my virtual assistant, she pings me every morning, bright and early. It says, "I'm here. I'm ready to go. This is what I'm working on." We communicate via Google. We have a spread, not a spreadsheet. We have a doc that shows what needs to be done, and then we talk about projects, and it's worked out very well.
Perfect, perfect. And what was the before and after adding your people to the team?
I was involved in a project a few years ago, and we needed to put together a business plan. And therefore, we needed to hire somebody part-time for that specific project, because I have my core team. But as I take on projects and people say, well, how do you do all these projects simultaneously? Well, you have to add people who are specifically working on that. And I had a business partner who said, well, I have this person and she's really good and she can help us out. And, that lasted like, I don't know, 9 days or something. I mean, we ended up being involved in that project for 3 years, but she was terrible. And she was terrible. She was in the US. She was terrible primarily because, of course, she was really the other guy's assistant who was now kind of, splitting time and everything.
Hmm.
And what I did was, of course, I went through looking to hire somebody. It took several people, and I finally found the right person, and that person actually worked out fairly well. However, that person I had to split time with, and that was annoying because at times I think we lost business because of that. And I said to myself, there has to be a better way. So that's really kind of the before picture. And uh, almost 911 days ago or whatever it was that we did the first person, uh, it's been a lot smoother, primarily because I have somebody who's focused on the project that we have, and because they're focused on that project, they get it done. So if you think of it that way, you can probably have people do really well for you. But it's all about make sure that you know what outcomes you want and how that's going to be. So the before and after is quite stark. And in fact, it encourages me to look beyond the borders, if you will. Last person I hired that I brought into my core team, she lasted, I don't know, we can almost count it by the seconds of how painful it was. And we're still unraveling the mistakes she made. Now, it turned out that wasn't something that I would necessarily put offshore, but I may in the future as I grow with confidence, because now I have some much better talent that Luigi has helped me find.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, one of the things we always tell our clients is how do we define success for this role? And many times business owners can't really uh, verbalize or explain that to us, and until we have that answer, we can't really do our job. So it's been an incredible learning experience. And this leads me to my next question. What was your experience working with Assist Your Biz?
Well, I think that when I first heard you describe the concept of assist your business or biz, uh, it sounded intriguing, sounded interesting, and what you did that other people hadn't even thought about doing is that you came to me and said, "Look, here's what we do. I have somebody who is in Colombia who I work with. She's very talented, and so we kind of went through a period of getting to know each other. You built a process. That process, I think I've seen it go through several iterations and continues to improve, which is great. And more importantly is that you've been there as support and backup. So it isn't like you say, well, here's a half dozen people, good luck, I hope it works out, pay the fee and we're done. And that's really important. And it's always challenging in life to go out and find somebody that you can actually connect with. And my suggestion is always to go to a professional. And you may say, why would a company that does recruitment as part of what they do, why wouldn't they recruit for themselves? Well, it's because you find, we have expertise in finding technical people, and we just found that it was much better to come to Assist Your Biz and go through and say, this is what we're trying to accomplish and this is what we're trying to do. And it has worked out quite well.
Thank you, thank you. And I know you mentioned it briefly before, but how was our process different than when you look for somebody yourself?
I've been involved in almost hard to say because it carbon dates me, but I've been involved in the call center world for now 52 years. And I have built them, I have managed them, I have owned them, I have worked inside of them. The first one I worked in, I swore I would never get back into one, but I've been involved in call centers a lot because that's important for businesses. And so therefore I hired a lot of people, and I probably developed some interesting habits of how to do that. And that business, you hire 10 and hope you get one or two people, and then you hire another 10 and hope you get one or two, and you're always kind of like roaring through that. I think that your methodology is much more I don't want to say guarded. What it is it's much more sophisticated, and it isn't can you fog a mirror, can you talk on the phone, and away you go. So I think that you do a lot more work on that. We've tried to hire people offshore on our own. Language barrier became an issue. Everybody says that they know how to speak the language, but do they really know how to speak the language? By the way, there's a famous story. I know, that we're doing talking about my business and your business, but there's a great story. So one of the most infamous or famous James Bond movies is Goldfinger. And the guy who played Goldfinger was actually a German actor. And so they're really up against it. And the guy had the perfect look. And if you've ever seen the movie, the guy has the perfect look. Well, it turns out that his agent basically said, this guy is fluent in English. He can do it, no problems. It's going to be fine. It's going to be good. Well, this guy couldn't order lunch, let alone anything else, but he was the right guy and they were already in production. So they filmed the whole movie. So now if you ever go watch it again, you have to realize that they hired an actor, another actor, a voice actor who came in and dubbed not just a little bit, but every single word that that guy said on screen was, of course, dubbed in because this guy didn't speak a lick of it. Well, I kind of learned that painful lesson, if you will. Hired some people in the Philippines. They said that they could speak the language. They could speak a language, but it just wasn't the language that I understood.
Interesting. So it's very similar to the whole Darth Vader thing where they hire Earl James Jones to replace the British actor that played him. Interesting. I did not know about that Goldfinger. So thank you for sharing. I have another cocktail story now. Has your utilization of time changed since you started expanding your remote team? I know that you're involved in multiple ventures and different businesses and different verticals and industries, but how has it changed?
Well, it's changed quite a bit because it's all about leverage. And the thing that you learn the longer you're in business is that you have to buy time. You have to buy time, you have to get leverage, you have to get all of those things. And that means that you have to find the best person you possibly can. In fact, if you work with Luigi and his team and you hit upon what happened for me and you get a little lucky, you get a hidden gem and you get somebody who, works hard, is a great communicator and ends up showing exceptional capabilities. We just started with somebody a few weeks ago and frankly, she has far exceeded my expectations. And now we're kind of expanding on what we think the projects that she might be able to handle are going to be. And that's really an exciting thing to do. Talent is one of the hardest things in the world to find. People talk to me all the time because we're in the AI business. God, I can't wait until AI takes over these things. And I'm like, well, you might hope for that, but what you want is you want the highest talented people running the tools which are called AI. I'm very much a believer that no matter how good AI gets, no matter how smart it gets, is it going to be able to really help persuade people, can comfort them, cajole them, move them along, and make them happy to be a customer? So I think that that's a part of the process. And if you do that, you're going to get great leverage. Leverage is what timing is all about. And yes, that's an improvement. In fact, I just had talked to her just a few minutes before jumping on this with Luigi and kind of set the stage for today. And that's a great thing. And in fact, she's already accomplished something and sent back some results. And that's important. Also, I have to say, you need to develop a communication strategy. I don't care how you do it. Don't make it too complicated. Make it direct and simple. And more importantly, you have to stay on top of it because what you want to do is help that person move their way through. And most importantly, and I don't know if this is where we want to put it, but you have to create an environment that if they are going to make a mistake or it doesn't go the way you thought, or you had one vision of it and they have a different vision, all you need to know is that that's going to be part of the process. And if they learn from it, and you'll quickly see if they learn from it, great. Never, ever sit there and say to somebody, wow, that's really not what I wanted. They say, well, we need to do it a different way. We need to do this other thing. If you do that, you're going to have great success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, communications is the basis of any human interaction. And when you have somebody that's so far away, it has to be more precise and exact than ever. So thank you for sharing that, John. And since you have worked with the team for some time now, I know that you have been adding slowly different people to the team. How accessible have they been when you needed them?
That's the best part about where we are today. At one point in time, we had, at best, we had, phone calls or whatever you might do. But using something like WhatsApp or Slack or something like that, Now, email, you can do that. That's okay. But having something that has that direct link, that direct communications, is absolutely important. Very responsive, and by the way, you need to be responsive back. That's the key. Is that it has to be a two-way street, has to be an open line, and then you have to set what those priorities are, and then let people do what they do. So, very responsive. Also, highly educated. That every person I've worked with, and that's important. And you have to understand that education is different in different parts of the world. So you have to make sure that your expectations are in alignment with what they can do. And more importantly is, and I put aside time for every person we've worked with, is to make sure that they know that there is, if here's a project and I want you to do this project, but it requires to learn something, is I say, look, take a half an hour, hour and a half, go online. I'll recommend a YouTube video or two or something, and have them go through that process, which I think is very important.
Excellent, excellent. And what would be your message for another co-founder like yourself before working with us? What would you tell them to do, and why should they trust us to do business?
Well, let's take the trust question. Let's take the why I have confidence in your methodologies, and Assist Your Biz has worked well for us. The most important thing is somebody who's there not just in the beginning. They don't overhype people. They don't set false expectations. They don't say this person's going to be, turn water into wine or something like that. Mostly it's understanding how they go out and find people who will match up to what you're trying to do. Now, that's the hardest part for people who are in business, who are entrepreneurs. What do you want them to do? What do you need them to do? What capabilities do you need? Very important that you map out some things that you want them to do. Maybe it doesn't sound like it's much. See, we often try to just ladle on all of these different requirements, and nobody's going to be able to do all those from day one. Pick 1, 3, 5 things that you really want to have help with, and do that. So giving that information to Luigi and his team is very important, because that means they can go out and scout and look around and find some talent for you. Now, as far as my advice to anybody who's an entrepreneur, co-founder, solopreneur, whatever that might be, you will find yourself doing some of the most trivial work possible. When somebody asks me, like if I go to a bank, if I go someplace and they say, well, what are you doing this weekend? Well, I'm doing what every entrepreneur does every weekend, which is, there are no days off. You have to think of yourself as a dairy cow owner, farmer, which is, I happen to sit next to one crazy on an airplane, and he told me the most important and valuable thing you could ever tell an entrepreneur. I wish I had heard it even earlier than I did. He goes, every day, no matter what, the cows have to be milked. It doesn't matter if it's rain or shine. He talked about, and he was sharing a rather sad story about his wife passing, and he had to get up and he had to milk the cows. If you're an entrepreneur, you got to milk the cows. You got to do your job. Hiring somebody helps buy some of that, but more importantly, that means that you can now start to expand and think about what you can do with that extra time. And when you do that, your business will be able to grow, because it's now being held back by just a giant mountain, a list of things that need to be done that you can hand off to somebody else. Don't do $10 an hour work when you're really worth $1,000 an hour. Now, it's hard because you have to learn how to do it, and it turns out it's harder to do in the beginning. It takes longer than you thought it would, but if you do that, you're going to get better results. So my suggestion is, hire somebody earlier, even if it's a pinch, and even if it's a little harder, and even if it, I'm not quite sure, and do that, and then push yourself to say, how do I utilize this talent to the best way possible? And it's great to watch people grow and move forward and get better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things we tell people is to analyze their time, and these are some of the things that I learned from you through the years. Is analyze your time, see where your time is going, and start delegating your task and start filling that, whether it is more business development or whatever it is that you do, because we have people in different industries, attorneys, engineers, salespeople, business owners, whatever you may do, just what is really the true and most important thing that you could be doing today.
Right.
Focus on that and delegate everything else. So it's a fact. I learned this from you, the 2x4 rule. I don't know if you want to get into that. You know, everything takes twice as long or costs twice as much.
Yeah, it's simple. The 2x4 rule is that, anything you're working on is going to either take, cost twice as much and take four times as long, or cost four times as
Okay.
much and take twice as long. And that's just the reality of it. And part of it is just never ask, here's probably the best insight. Never ask it to be easier. Never ask for luck to intervene. Work to become better and stronger and build a better team. And building a better team is being able to hand these things off to people. Quick example of a project that we had been working on and knew that it was on the board, because we have lists of things that need to be done. Now, my guess is that I'll probably check out and still have a full list, because that's the way entrepreneurs should be. You always should have more things you want to do. So I wanted to take all of this content that I've created. I have a weekly sales meeting called Speed Start Monday. I've done 1,058 of them, I believe, so far, or 50, whatever it is, but it's a lot of them, 21 years. And what I wanted to do was take those, all that we've transcribed, and start putting them together in some cohesive fashion, because there's a lot of great data that will write more books, because I have two books that I've co-written. And that's really hard to get to that, right? It's always, you're going to get to it some other way. And I've hired people who said they were editors. I've hired people who said that they knew what I was talking about. And here I hire this person that Luigi helps me find. And she's in the process of sifting and sorting through this mountain of stuff. And she doesn't do that full time, but she chips away at it and chips away at it, because when you get to over 1,050 sessions, you have many, many, many pages of transcription. Now, what are we going to do with it? Well, that's where AI will probably help us out.
Right, right. And those 1,000 sections are at least an hour, hour and a half, sometimes longer. I've been part of quite a few of those, and thank you for sharing your knowledge, your time, and we hope to be able to serve you once again in the very near future as you guys grow.
Excellent. And just so you know, I'm a believer, and I think that as I work through projects and as things expand and things are getting done, right now I'm now planning, well, when do I add the next person and the next person? Because growth is all about getting more capability, more people helping out and moving things forward. And I would therefore highly recommend Assist Your Biz. I think that Luigi and his team have done a magnificent job. And my sense is that they're going to continue to grow. If you are questioning whether or not you need somebody, all you need to do is say, when did you turn off the lights? And did you go to sleep without a list that goes a mile long and saying, wow, I got a lot to do tomorrow? That would be my recommendation.
Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate you.